which one of us is more likely to die in the bed of a prostitute? In this hypothetical, she's not a minor, but she could be black if you want.
Oh, God. I'm going to say you.
Oh, God.
Just because I'm in a relationship. So I'm just going to say you.
Damn. Well, I accept my fate then. My name is Brandon, and joined with, I don't know what I'm saying, joined at my hip is...
What?
I don't know.
We're Siamese twins now.
I completely froze. You still haven't said your name, so I just have to keep riffing, and now you just drank.
Oh, yeah.
Who is here with me?
My David.
Thank you. Okay. I was just stuck in this weird limbo.
This is already the weirdest episode ever. Like, already.
Good.
Yeah.
And we still haven't even talked about Adam Levine yet. So we got a ways to go.
What's the deal with Adam Levine?
I'll tell you later.
Oh, okay.
There's all kinds of stuff.
I'm excited. Because I got a history with Maroon 5. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but...
We mentioned them on the first episode because that was the artist that I asked you if you'd heard of, and you said no. And then you clarified later that you actually had heard of them, you just didn't know their music. But when you initially said it and you hadn't heard of Maroon 5, I was like, this is the guy that I should start a podcast with.
And you know what's ironic? In between then and now, I know quite a few of their songs quite well now. So
damn,
things have changed.
Look at us. Now I know movies. Now you know music.
Yeah.
It's almost like the whole point of the podcast is like working now.
It's almost like we're becoming cultured.
Oh,
pop culturists.
Dare we say it?
Dare we say it? Nah, we don't know the youth terms yet, so we're not cultured.
No. And sadly, the older we get, the less we know about the youths. But anyway.
Exactly.
What did you watch?
Just like last week's episode, I actually have two movies to bring up. But both of these movies are older movies. So the first one is Collateral, directed by Michael Mann, who is like known for his crime films. He did Heat, which he's very well known for. He did Thief too. And this film is kind of known for starring, along with Jamie Foxx, Tom Cruise in a very different role because he actually plays a psychopathic hitman. And I gotta say, this is a 4.5 film for me. It's such a good film. And Tom Cruise is so good in it. And I think that it makes sense considering that he is kind of just like a psychopath in real life, but that's beside the point. Like, I think that's why it works so well. But he is so good in this film. He and Jamie Foxx kill it in this film. And of course, he kills some actual people too. But yeah, I think it's an excellent thriller. It's so well made. And the end chase of this film made me realize just how effective a good chasing is. Because I feel like by this point, I've seen so many like bad to fine chasings that I'm like, okay, yeah, they're chasing. I'm here for it. But this like ending chasing to the film actually left me thrilled and made me understand why thrillers are called thrillers. You know, it's that good. I also did want to mention before I go to the second film that like in the first 20 minutes, there's this female lawyer who's talking to the main character who's a taxi driver. And during the whole part, I was like, damn, she's a really good actress. How have I not heard of her before? And I kept on thinking, like, who is this? Like, I want to see more stuff with her because she is, you know, a really good actress. She's so good in this. And then I see the credits and I realized that it's Jada Pinkett Smith. And I was like, what? I did not recognize her. And I don't think it's because, like, oh, she looked different or anything like that. I think it was just like, I just didn't comprehend that that was possible. Because in my mind, she is just like the person she is in pop culture now versus like an actress, which I forgot that she is an actress first and foremost.
That's how I feel about Jamie Foxx. I think of his song "Blame It on the Alcohol" with T-Pain, and I completely forgot that he acted. I also think of him doing stand-up.
Yeah, and he's really good too in this film. I just got to throw that out there. But the second film that I did want to quickly mention is Terminator 2.
Oh.
I think I gave the first film like a 3 or something, right? I gave this film a 4 because it literally takes everything and makes it like 100 times better than the first film. There's a reason why everyone says it's the better film out of the two. And there's a reason why this film is the more influential one, because it is so good. And like for an action like sequel to a movie that was just solid in my opinion, like good, but like nothing crazy. Like it was like fine. It's crazy how it raises the bar. So I was like, I had to mention those two movies.
Was it also directed by James Cameron?
Yeah. And like literally everything, the effects, the characters, the action, like all of it is literally just a step up. So we got to watch it at some point for sure. But yeah, after that very long spiel, what have you listened to recently?
So I've listened to a lot, and I don't really want to talk about a lot of it because most of it's from earlier in the year, and I feel like I like to talk about the new stuff that came out. So I did listen to one album specifically that I want to mention, which is Man's Best Friend by Sabrina Carpenter. One of the most anticipated albums of the year, I would say.
Also a very controversial one because of the cover.
Very controversial, yes. This was not good.
Oh, like, really?
Simple as that. I have been following Sabrina Carpenter for probably longer than most people have been aware that she's a singer. And I think whatever happened with Nonsense to make her go in this direction was a mistake. And I say that as somebody who thinks Espresso is a good song and that Taste is one of the best pop songs of the 2020s. I don't know what this direction that she's going for is, but whatever it is, it doesn't work. And it feels way too on the nose, but it also feels very impersonal, which it feels like the opposite of what she's going for. So I don't know. I was baffled by a lot of the writing choices on here. I think they're quite bad. Melodically, it's fine. Production-wise, it's Jack Antonoff, and unfortunately, I am getting sick of his production style. I think he's great at synthesizers, but he does not know how to do drums. And overall, the production just feels very thin and weak. This was just a huge disappointment. Not that I had any high expectations for it at all, because I did not like Man-Child either. So
I did want to ask, how does this compare to Short and Sweet?
Way worse.
How is it stylistically then? Is it a similar style?
In a way, yes, but it feels less pop. It feels like we're going more towards like yacht rock, soft rock kind of thing than like pop. And I feel like, I either gave this 1 point or 1.5 points less than Short and Sweet, which I already had problems with as an album. This was just not good. And I don't recommend anyone listen to it unless you want to kind of waste your time, which I find unfortunate because I'm always rooting for Sabrina Carpenter. I think she's very talented, but, maybe you don't have to write every single song. And that's always been my theory is like, when you're a big pop artist, it's okay to outsource that sometimes. Rihanna did it all the time, and look where she went. She's amazing. She's regarded as one of the best pop singers and vocalists ever. And then she did write some of her songs later, too. But she knew how to choose a hit, and she knew that sometimes she wasn't the one to write that hit. And I appreciate that. There's merit to writing all of your own songs, but then also sometimes it's like, sometimes you just need the best song, and you're not the person to make that song. But I will say, I hope she takes some time off after this, kind of recalibrates, gets a new direction, gets some new writers and producers, because I am intrigued with her, and I think she's built something, like she's kind of ascended to this main pop girl status, which is good because we don't have a lot of like people that can do that anymore. So I hope that she's able to kind of go back to the drawing board and create something new, because I will always be listening and tuning in. I've been listening to her since 2016, I think. So,
oh, wow. Yeah. So, fingers crossed. I was surprised by how quick Man-Child came out after Short and Sweet.
Yes. And Short and Sweet Deluxe came out in February of this year, too. So It's crazy. I mean, I get she's trying to capitalize on it, which makes sense, but sometimes oversaturation. And then I'm going to have one last hot take about that. I think she needs to leave Island Records, and she was going to be dropped by Island Records before Nonsense kind of blew up as a hit. And I think she should, because I don't think they know kind of how to manage her career or how to promote her music. She needs someone better to advocate for her and to kind of ensure her status stays as a main pop girl.
Do you think the success of Espresso and Short and Sweet was kind of like besides whatever Island Records was doing?
Definitely. Definitely. I think it was based off of the song's merit themselves and not necessarily because of any marketing. I think the marketing of Nonsense, which does not seem to be influenced by Island, was a great choice. And I think it was hers or it was her team's. And it worked so much better. And then, of course, her being able to attach herself to the Taylor Swift Eras Tour as an opening act, like, only helped with that. And she's obviously such a great performer that, like, people are going to be drawn to it. But unfortunately, that was just not the vibe.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed it gets better from here.
That's what I'm hoping for. And I got one last song for you. Well, not one last song. I got the song of the week for you.
The song.
Which is Summer's Ending Soon by The Midnight. And this is a synthwave song. I like The Midnight. They're a synthwave band. They're one of the few that I know that I really connect to. And they have an album coming out in October. And all of the singles have been a 4 at minimum for me. So this is looking really good. The one downside is it's, I think, 18 or 19 tracks. So that might be a little bit too much, but we'll see. So I'm excited for that. And the song is called Summer's Ending Soon. It's almost 7 minutes long, and it does not feel like it because it's just so interesting and it's very good. And I highly recommend that. Should we get into it?
Let's get into it.
This week's album is Overexposed by Maroon 5. It was released June 20th, 2012 by A&M Octone Records, which is part of Interscope. It was mixed by Serban Genia and mastered by Tom Coyne. Serban Genia is a connection. I don't even know how many albums he's mixed that we've done, but I know for sure he did Dangerous Woman. Pretty much the greatest mixer in the history of pop music. I think he's won 27 Grammys or something like that. Like, it's absolutely insane. If it's a pop song that does well, he pretty much mixed it. Like, he's a legend. At the time of this album's release, Maroon 5 consisted of Adam Levine, the lead singer, James Valentine, lead and rhythm guitar, Matt Flynn, drummer, Mickey Madden on bass, and PJ Morton on keyboards. And PJ Morton filled in for Jesse Carmichael, who was one of the original members of one of the 5 for Maroon 5. And he actually came back after this album. It said he was finishing his studies, so I don't know if he went back to college or something. And then there were 6 people in Maroon 5. And then they were like, let's add another one. And then now there's 7. So I don't really know how that works. But there are currently 7 members of Maroon 5 if you want to go see them live.
That's quite a lot of members, I will say.
Of course, it's not a real band unless one of them is attracted to minors. And Mickey Madden was arrested on domestic violence charges, and then they announced that he left the band. And then he was found to be texting underage girls after that. So,
Jesus Christ. Every single frickin' time.
Literally every single band has one. And weirdly, it seems to be the bass player, and he is the bass player. Like, that seems to be a theme that I've noticed.
There's just something about people that play bass.
4 bands that I like have lost their bassists to texting minors, which is really weird. But then one of them also lost their drummer to texting minors. So, something's going on there. Weirdly, not the lead singer usually, which you feel like it would be.
Yeah, that's what you would think.
Then I got a little fun fact for you. Brie Larson, the actor, has backing vocals on Daylight and Tickets.
Whoa, I had no idea.
I didn't know that either. I didn't know she had a music career, but she attempted to, and then she became an actor, which seems to have worked out much better for her. The album cover of this album is pretty iconic, and it's very interesting. It was designed by Young and Sick, who's an LA-based Dutch artist. And I wanted to ask you, what did you think of the album art? What did it do to your expectations of the album? And then also, I feel like this is a good time for you to talk about, what do you know about Maroon 5, and what do you think about them?
Well, let me start off with what I know about Maroon 5, which is obviously, throughout the 2010s, I heard their music because, it's very popular. It's on the radio. It's used in stuff like trailers, stuff like that, So obviously I heard a lot of their stuff, even if I didn't consciously realize that, oh, it's Maroon 5. For instance, I didn't know that Moves Like Jagger was a Maroon 5 song until recently. That's how much I did not know. And I remember that conversation where I was like, oh, I've heard of them, but I don't really know them. Because since then, I have kind of learned more of their songs and I've actually listened to their songs, and some of their songs are in my playlist. And the reason why I kind of found out more about them is actually through Jennifer, because one of the first times we were hanging out, I think it was like our third time hanging out ever, she mentioned the famous Sugar music video where they go to the weddings and like perform at the real weddings or whatever. And I was like, oh, I don't know what that is. And she was like, what? And so she showed me that and Animal and some other songs. And that kind of got me, started on the train of like, oh, okay, these are like fun pop songs. And I kind of found out more about them. And then I discovered some songs like She Will Be Loved, stuff like that, which kind of brought me into their other styles, I guess you could say. So that's what I kind of know of Maroon 5. I've never listened to any of their albums all the way through, but I know like about them. I know who they are. I know that they had a very bad Super Bowl halftime show. And yeah, I know like of their songs. And I had actually heard One More Night before. That's a song that I actually really like from them. And because of that, I knew what the album cover looked like. And I always really liked it. I thought it was a very fun album cover that I think kind of is intriguing, gets you like into the album in the sense of like you see that and you're like, oh, what is this album gonna be like? What is it about? So I do like the album cover, and I can see why it's kind of iconic.
Nice. I remember seeing this album cover when I was younger and thinking, this is really strange. I like it. It worked on me when I was like 11 or whatever.
Yeah, there's something very captivating about it. It kind of pulls you in.
And I did want to follow up on your expectations of this album. Knowing what you know about Maroon 5 before you went in, did you assume you'd like it?
I mean, I assumed that I would, and like the same way that I liked their music, where it was like, it's just very fun pop. And it's not trying to be anything more. It's just like, yeah, let's just all get together and have fun and just like get moving to some fun pop.
And before we jump into the album, there were 4 singles released not before the album, but from the album. Payphone was the lead single in April of 2012. One More Night was released the day before the album. Daylight was released as a single in November of 2012. And Love Somebody in May 2013. Now, Lucky Strike was also kind of a promotional single. I believe it was a promotional single in Belgium. It was never on the radio as far as I know. And now for my prediction of your favorite songs. I have 2. My initial one immediately was Daylight is going to be your favorite song. And then I also added in Sad afterwards because I was like, maybe. Let's jump into a song that you know. Track number 1, One More Night. This one is written by Adam Levine, Max Martin, Savan Kotecha, and Shellback, and it's produced by Max Martin and Shellback. God, is it good to hear that name again, I must say. Obviously, Max Martin is a connection from Kesha, Ariana Grande, and Katy Perry. Shellback is a connection from Kesha, and Savan Kotecha is a connection from Dangerous Woman by Ariana Grande. The drum beat on this song is called Vintage Funk Kit 03. It is a just stock loop. And interestingly enough, it is also used as the beat of Umbrella by Rihanna.
Oh.
Which I have somehow never realized, even though that seems like something I would have figured out. This was the second single released the day before the album, as I said. It impacted contemporary hit radio on July 17th, 2012. And this peaked at number 1 on the Hot 100 and is certified 6 times platinum.
To the surprise of no one, I feel like.
Exactly, yeah. I wrote down that this is a great pop song, and anyone who thinks Maroon 5 isn't a pop band, which is a common sentiment, is completely wrong. This is a pop song. They are a pop band. Get over yourselves. And people love to hate pop music. Like,
the whole point of it is just to have fun, or at least of this style of pop is just to have fun. And that's awesome.
It wouldn't be a Max Martin song if I didn't say it has perfect structure. It has multiple catchy elements that are not just the chorus. Max Martin, you are a god among men, I wrote down. this is probably the best way to start the album. I feel like they kind of front load the album. I mean, they obviously do with the singles, and we'll talk about that more as we get into the album.
Yeah, and that is something that I do agree with. Not to spoil what I think of it, but it's definitely front loaded.
But I like this song. I rated a 3.5. I don't know, whatever. To quote Adam Levine at the end of the song. What did you think?
That was literally one of my notes. I think that this is a great start to the album, and it really does just grab you, and it keeps you throughout the whole song. It has one of my favorite choruses from Maroon 5 in general, and I also particularly like the bridge in this song. And this is a song that I knew before I listened to the album, as I said before, and it's just so much fun. This is up there among Maroon 5's like best. I think it's one of their best songs, to be honest, to the point that it's a 4.5 for me.
Whoa, you do love pop music.
This is my favorite song.
God damn it. I almost said this because it's the first song and it's
you got close.
I figured you would know this one, and I just thought that you wouldn't know Daylight and it would just like strike you. And it's also kind of a ballad, which I know you like, but it's got that like pop sentiment to it. I should have trusted my gut.
Well, you're going to have to do it with the next Maroon 5 album we listen to. So
we have to listen to their other hits, but then I think there's also some like pretty good album tracks on a few of their albums. So, but we'll get there when we get there. Do you ever go up to a 4.5 again?
No, this is the highest I go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is not my favorite. I'll let you know what that is.
I would guess, but I feel like I just don't know with this album.
You never know. It could be track number 2, Payphone. Written by Adam Levine, Amar Malik, Benny Blanco, Robopop, Shellback, and Wiz Khalifa. It's produced by Shellback, Benny Blanco, and Robopop. And of course, Benny Blanco is a connection from Kesha.
And also from Ariana Grande, no?
Actually, no, weirdly.
Oh.
I kind of assumed, but no. We've only done his production on Kesha before.
That's really interesting.
Payphone was the lead single of the album. It was released April 16th, 2012, as I mentioned. It impacted Top 40 radio the next week. This song was kind of a failure. It only peaked at number 2 on the Hot 100, but it did finish 2012 as the number 4 song of the year and is 7 times platinum in the United States. So I would say this was also kind of a success.
Kind of. That was definitely a success.
Yeah.
Considering that I heard the song literally everywhere at a certain point in the 2010s. Yeah.
Sorry, Wiz Khalifa, but I'm not sure why you're here. Mm-hmm. There is a version without Wiz Khalifa that was on adult contemporary radio. That's the one that gets played in like grocery stores. It's fine. I think they actually have a bridge for it. I'm going to say something crazy though. I kind of like Wiz Khalifa being here. It doesn't work in any way, but it's just kind of like, why not? You know, like this is just kind of what we were doing in the 2010s.
Throw everything into the pot.
Exactly. God, is this nostalgic? What a great chorus. I haven't heard this song. Like, I haven't sought out listening to this song in so long. And hearing it, I was like, wow, we really did grow up in the greatest time for pop music. Like, it's simple as that. Imagine you are 10 or 11 now and you hear Ordinary by Alex Warren and Mystical Magical by Benson Boone on the radio. That just does not hit the same.
I don't want to imagine that.
Exactly. It's sad.
Especially when I see those videos of kids like belting that Beautiful Thing song. I'm like, you poor kids, you don't have anything better to like sing along to.
Man, fuck this shit.
Did he score it already?
No, I still have more notes. I mean, man, fuck that shit. I have that written down. That's how
man, fuck that shit.
How Wiz Khalifa's verse starts. I said it's good. I'm not sure it fully fits. And I think it's like they brought him in to be angry so that Adam Levine didn't have to call her boyfriend a little piece of shit.
Yeah.
But then he also says all the fairy tales are full of shit. One more fucking love song. I'll be sick. This is the explicit version. I honestly kind of like the clean version better. It tones it down a little bit and it feels more like...
It fits a little better maybe.
The way the music sounds, it doesn't make me think one more fucking love song. It's kind of like, well, that might be a little too aggressive. And the way he says it, too, is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I still do like this song, and it is a 3.5. So I got the same score as One More Night.
I forgot that there's even a rap section in this song. And when it started playing, I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's in there. And it does feel very weird and out of place. But, like, now that I really listen to it, I do expect it there, you know? Like, I'm like, oh, yeah, the rap section's coming up. It doesn't make sense, but it's there, right? So it's like weird because it fits and it doesn't fit at the same time. And I think the reason I forgot it is because I was used to the grocery store version without it or something like that, you know?
Yeah, and it kind of depends on your radio station. I think iHeart stations tend to play the songs without rap verses if those are available. And I did not grow up with any iHeart stations around here, so I heard the rap verses on everything.
It is also very nostalgic to the point that I literally wrote down that for some reason, listening to the song made me start to think about the Lego movie in terms of like vibes.
Oh.
And that came out in 2014, so 2 years after this came out. So it made me nostalgic. I do think that this is a step down from One More Night. It's still like good. I really enjoy it, but it doesn't work as well. And it is a 4 for me because of that.
There is nothing like pop music. It really is my favorite genre. And the more I listen to it, the more I'm like, yeah, this is what I love. Like, you know, people try to make you feel ashamed for what you love, but I don't. I don't feel that way. Pop music is great. There's a reason it's popular. Now we get to what I assumed would be your favorite song. Track number 3, Daylight. Written by Adam Levine, Mason MDL Levy or Levy, Max Martin, and Sam Martin, no relation. Produced by Max Martin, Adam Levine, and MDL. And we do have a connection with Sam Martin. He wrote on The Human Condition by John Bellion.
Oh.
We're collecting all kinds of different like connections here, which I think is really fun. And this is why I like pop music as well, because all these songwriters are everywhere.
Yeah, and I feel like if there was one album that was to happen, it would be this one.
This song reached number 7 on the Hot 100 and is 2 times platinum. It was a single. It wasn't as big, but it still did well. I mean, obviously number 7 is very respectable. I fear this song caused irreparable harm to the genre that I call The Voice audition music. But even then, I think it's a good song. And then I wrote here, as I was doing research, future Brandon here, oh my God, this song premiered on The Voice. So I was onto something there. I did not know that. And then it also has been called a Coldplay-ish song, which I can see because there is kind of that more like, I guess, melancholic tone to it, if you can call it that. And then this is the song where I said, let's bring back O's and woes in pop music. It's fun. And I am guilty of that too. As a songwriter, I fear putting in an O and a woe because you can just have other lyrics there. But sometimes that's all you need. And it's especially when you're a good vocalist. We're going to continue the trend. This is a 3.5.
That's interesting. To your point about it sounding a little bit more Coldplay, to me, it sounded a little bit more indie maybe compared to the last 2 songs, which might be like, you know, like there might be a connection to why it maybe sounds more Coldplay too. I really like the parts where it's kind of ramping up to the chorus. And I think that in general, Maroon 5 does that very, very well in their songs. I do think that the beginning doesn't really work for me that well. I just feel like it doesn't really mesh with the rest of the song. It's still like a nice song, but it feels a tiny bit disjointed to me, I guess. And that puts it at a 3.5. We were kind of at a ladder right now with me.
I tried to go the route of a ballad, but I'll learn from my mistakes.
You can't win them all.
This just felt right to me.
Which, I mean, yeah, like I still enjoy it. I feel like ironically, recently, my favorite songs have not been ballads.
I got to rethink that, and then you also have to stop saying that your favorite songs are ballads, maybe.
Yeah, because I do say it every single episode.
Not every single episode, but it is one of the common themes that you've identified. So
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe you're changing and growing and evolving. Track number 4, Lucky Strike. Written by Adam Levine, Noel Zancanella, and Ryan Tedder. Produced by Ryan Tedder and Noel Zancanella. And of course, we have a connection here. Ryan Tedder wrote on Dangerous Woman. And in case you've ever heard of the band One Republic, Ryan Tedder is the lead singer of that and is a very accomplished songwriter.
A band that I do enjoy quite a bit too.
This song I remember being used in a promo for an ABC show that I think got canceled after like 5 episodes. Do not remember what it's called. It was Lucky something, I think, because they were like Lucky Strike and then there's some other lucky thing to do with it. Or it's like gambling. I don't know. That was how I heard this song. And when I heard it, I was like, this should be the next single. And then it never was, which is kind of sad. I think this is the best song on the album that wasn't officially released as a single. And it definitely should have been. And This song has O's in it and woes, which I love.
And some haze.
It's true, yes. And then I wrote something which I feel very strongly about. And I kind of like, I felt emotional when I realized this. I feel like I've learned so much about pop music from this song, Lucky Strike, and Daylight, the last two songs. I didn't even realize it. And listening to these songs, like, no wonder I have the likes, the interests that I do. Like, this is the music I grew up listening to, and it's so good and so high quality that, like, I feel like it's almost like educating you. And as someone who's been doing music for their entire life, like, it's so important to have these kind of influences without even really realizing it. Like, this was just on the radio and you could hear this kind of music and basically get an education from it. Even though Lucky Strike wasn't even on the radio, I still was like, I don't know. I just wanted to say that this song is also a 3.5. You guessed it.
Is this your favorite song?
It's not.
So you do go higher than a 3.5, I'm assuming.
I do, on one song.
I'm very intrigued.
What do you think?
Such just a well-made song. I didn't really like the chorus that well on the song the first time I listened to it. I came back to it later and listened to it again, and that time I actually really liked the chorus. That being said, the bridge actually doesn't really work for me in the song. Yeah, I feel like it doesn't mesh with the rest of the song. That being said, again, I think the build-ups are really good, which I feel like they are consistently good at, and it just really works. I think, you know, it's for me a step up above Daylight. It's a 4. Continuing a very strong trend for this album, I will say.
This is also another note to myself. I think I did one of these in the last episode. We need to like listen to more Ryan Tedder written music. Like, he's so good, and he has such a wide variety. Like, he wrote Halo by Beyonce.
Oh, wow.
Different vibe to this.
He's got a wide range.
That's what I aspire to be.
And you will.
Track number 5, The Man Who Never Lied. Just like you. Written by Adam Levine, Brian Sweet Westy West, and Marius Moga. I don't know if that's how you say it. He's Romanian. Shout out to Romania. It was produced by Noah Mailbox Passivoy, Adam Levine, and Brian Sweet Westy West. This, I think, is a decent song, but that's not super memorable, but it is one of the better album cuts. I gave this a 3. It's fine.
It's interesting because one of the notes that I wrote for this song, is that going into this, I realized, and this is true of like just the individual songs that I had heard from Maroon 5 outside of this album, but I realized just how similar a lot of Maroon 5 songs are, and that is because their style tends to be quite consistent to the point where it kind of feels like a Kesha effect, but it's the type of Kesha effect where I'm not mad at it. And I think for me, it is because I knew some of their music better than some of the other artists before I like listened to this. So because of that, I'm not mad at the fact that the Kesha effect is kind of here. It's kind of a bonus for me because I like the style just works for me. But I guess an actual note that I do have to give about the song is, again, I think the chorus is the strongest part of this, and kind of how I said before, where the moments where they ramp up to the chorus, they consistently are good at. I feel like their choruses are also consistently like either some of the best or the best parts of their songs. And I think that's why it is so catchy and kind of keeps you coming back. And this song gets a 4 purely on the strength of its chorus for me. I think the rest of the song is fine, but the chorus like pulls this song up to a 4 for me.
And I think your note about the chorus is specifically why I will continue to argue that they are a pop band. Pop bands can care about the chorus. Pop musicians care about the chorus because that's the part that you remember. And very obviously they do. Like, I don't want to hear any more from anyone that they're not a pop band. They are. They've always have been.
I honestly can't comprehend how people think that they're something else.
It's because of their first album is pop rock.
Yeah.
But it's pop is the part that everybody's forgetting is part of that compound word or whatever.
And just because an artist started off somewhere doesn't mean that they can't end up somewhere else.
Exactly.
Because so many artists have done that. Like literally Rihanna started off with a style that was less pop than what she eventually became known for, right?
She was like kind of R&B pop at first. Then she went like full on dance pop. Yeah. And then she kind of went to like more contemporary R&B, which is totally different than the first stuff.
So it's like 3 different styles. So yeah, there we go.
Now we get to track number 6, Love Somebody, written by Adam Levine, Nathaniel Mott, Noel Zancanella, and Ryan Tedder, produced by Ryan Tedder and Noel Zancanella. And we have kind of a weird connection on this one. Nathaniel Mott is a connection. He is the other member of 303, which is featured on Blah, Blah, Blah by Kesha.
Oh.
He was not credited as a writer on that song. Sean Foreman, the other member of that band, was credited as a writer on that song. But they're both songwriters who write separately and together. And he's the only one who wrote on this one. So kind of a fun connection for you there.
That's interesting.
This song I did not like that much when I was younger, but it's actually good. I think it's a perfect encapsulation of 2010s pop. And this is the song from the album that I hope gets revisited and given the flowers that it deserves. This is a 4. This is my favorite.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Give rating and then explain. I'm not sure if this fully deserves a 4, but I do like it the best out of any of the songs. I think it's more of a 3.75, but it is better than all of the other songs that I gave a 3.5. So I felt like I had to give it a 4. This is not the song going into the album that I thought would be my favorite. I thought my favorite was going to be Lucky Strike because that was the one that I remember the most from this album, despite it not even being a single. This song, though, just kind of like spoke to me, and I really love the chorus, and I love it feels very Ryan Tedder, like One Republic coded as a song, and I really like this one. It's really good.
That's interesting because to me, I like the song. I feel like the chorus didn't grab me as much as a lot of the other songs, which kind of goes to the point I made when talking about The Man Who Never Lied. And because of that, it's a 3.5 for me. It's like a little bit of a step down. It's still a really solid song. I still like it. It just doesn't feel on the same level. I also did want to say that I feel like this song is the beginning of the second half of this album where the sound kind of shifts. And it's kind of because of that where you feel like the album is front loaded. Not to like say what my scores are going forward, but I feel like this is where it starts.
You did identify it because I wrote this as a theme to talk about at the end of the album, but this is a different Kesha effect that we had where I felt like you could tell that there were different producers on the songs and different types of songs on the album. And I feel like this has the same, where I feel like the first 6 songs, well, 5 songs minus The Man Who Never Lied are all of the same style. And then that also includes the penultimate song, Doin' Dirt, which is produced by Shellback. Those feel like the pop songs, and then the other ones feel more like the pop rock songs, which includes The Man Who Never Lied. And I feel like there's a stark contrast between the pop songs, which I think are way better than the other songs. I don't know if you feel the same. You don't have to spoil that yet, even though I kind of just did for myself. But I agree with you that this is the end of the first half of the album, even though I kind of feel like The Man Who Never Lied, it kind of feels like that second part of the album.
And I mean, that was something that we felt with 3 specifically by Banks, right? That was what you're referring to, right?
That's true. Yeah. That was one thing that you brought up specifically.
Yeah.
Is that the 2 parts of the album were like very different, which, listening to that album again recently, just on my own, I was kind of like, I kind of get what you're saying now. As a full concept, I think it works a little bit better, but there is definitely a shift in I feel like the highs are very early on in that album, similar to this one. Moving on to track number 7, Lady Killer, written by Adam Levine, James Valentine, and Mickey Madden. This is the first time we get other band members besides Adam Levine writing a song, which is very interesting because I believe they always used to, I think it was always Adam Levine and James Valentine that would write like every song together when they were starting out. This one is produced by Noah Mailbox Passavoy and James Valentine. I only have one note on this song. It feels thin and poorly produced, and even with better production, it's not a good song. It's a 2.5.
You can definitely tell that it feels different compared to the first half. I think the chorus is fine, but it there's nothing really that special about it. It doesn't really pull you in that much. I particularly did not like the instrumental bridge with the song. It feels like they got an idea to do something experimental, tried to go for it, but then got scared and held back. So it kind of feels like in the middle of playing it safe versus going experimental, and it just does not work for me at all. I don't know. It's very okay. It definitely just not anywhere near as good as like the first half. It's a 3. I'll still listen to it. It's still fine, but it's definitely a lot weaker.
We got track 8, Fortune Teller, written by Adam Levine, James Valentine, and Mickey Madden, and produced by Noah Mailbox Passavoy, James Valentine, and Sam Farrar. Now, here's a little fun fact for you. Sam Farrar was a touring and session musician for the band, but now he is officially the 7th member of the band. This is Maroon 7 now, and don't think it was this album. I think it was after V, the album after this, where they were like, let's add him officially to the band. And then Red Pill Blues was the album that he was like officially in the band. And I think there were actually 7 people on the like cover of that album. It was either 7 or 6, but it was like it was not 5. And I remember looking at that and thinking, what the hell happened? So I got a note for you. This was the only note I took on my first listen through of this album. I said, this song is the evil version of Love Somebody.
I can see it.
I think the production on here is a lot darker and more moody than Love Somebody, but there's kind of a similar melody in the pre-chorus as well. And then with that darker production, I think it doesn't even go hard enough into that. Like, you start to get that, kind of like what you were saying about the bridge on Lady Killer. It's like they tried to experiment, but then they just kind of got a little scared of it, of what they could do. And I think they should have gone harder. And I'd like to see a new version of this song, because I think this is a pretty good song. And I wrote down, I'd specifically like to see it with early 2020s British deep house production. So if anybody out there wants to do that, I don't personally, but I would like to hear what that sounds like. It is a step up from Lady Killer, and it's a decent song, but it does feel like that there's something missing from the song, so it is still a 3, but it's better than Lady Killer.
I completely agree to your point that it seems like they were trying to go for something, but like didn't commit, particularly because it opens with almost like EDM vibes to me.
It very much does, yeah.
But then it pulls away from that. You know, like to me, it really felt like they were trying to blend their typical style into like with something to like take it away from what they're more known for, like take it in a new direction, and then they again just got scared and like pulled back. So it kind of is stuck in the middle of two things, I feel like, which just stops it from being fully successful. So yeah, it's a 3. For me, it's kind of on par, to be honest, with Lady Killer. And these two songs are kind of together the low point of the album.
I am definitely in a slump, which will unfortunately continue for a while. Through track number 9, Sad. This is written by Adam Levine and James Valentine, produced by Noah Mailbox Passavoy, James Valentine, and Adam Levine. This is the reverse track 9 theory. I wrote one note for this. This is just a bad Adele song. 1.5. This is my least favorite.
Oh.
This is unlistenable. I mean, it's not unlistenable, but it's bad. I will turn this off.
Hey, Brandon, want to know something funny?
It's a 4.5 or 4.
It's a 4.
I predicted this as another possible favorite song for you, so I correctly identified.
And I will say, here the fact that I do like ballads did come through.
See, I knew that would happen at some point.
Because this is a ballad that works well for me. Well, and the thing is, I wouldn't think that a ballad from Maroon 5 would work that well, because I feel like typically Adam Levine's voice, or Levine's, sorry. This is another case where I mess up someone's name consistently. But I don't think his voice would typically fit a ballad. But here, I feel like the kind of lower register he adopts works. And in general, to me, this feels like, you know, kind of how the last two songs, they tried to shift their production, but weren't able to. Here, it feels like the version where they were able to shift it, to me. So because of that, this song does work. I feel like they finally like committed to it fully, and that made it kind of come together a little bit more, to the point where I do like this song. I think it's a good song. It's a 4 for me. Yeah. Very split again, aren't we?
Well, that's okay. You know, I'm good with that. We split on track 9.
It's not a bad thing.
We split on track 9 last week too, you know, and that was my favorite.
This podcast would be very boring if we agreed on everything. So there we go.
Very true. Track number 10, Tickets. Written by Adam Levine, James Valentine, and Mickey Madden, produced by Noah Mailbox Passavoy and Sam Farrar. This song started, and I thought, why did I give it such a low score? Then it continued, and I remembered that I don't like it, and it's not a good song. This is, I think, the most LA song that they've ever done. So this is where I bring it up. I said, I don't want to hear Adam Levine talk about someone's perfect little body after the holy fucking fuck incident. So in case you were unaware of this, he was texting somebody and the DMs got leaked and he said, holy fucking fuck, that body of yours is absurd.
Oh, I have seen that. I just totally like blinked it from my mind, I think.
And as you should, because I don't want to see that. And the reason I remember those words in that order, maybe they're not specifically correct. That was used in a Black Eyed Peas song, which is one of the worst songs that they've ever done. So shout out to them. This song just conjured that image in my mind. And then I said, the idea of this song isn't necessarily bad, but the production sure is. This is a 2. This is nothing for me. We're still in the slump.
Yeah, that's interesting. First of all, because I kind of like bulldozed that from my mind, I didn't really think of it when I was listening to the song, which maybe helped me like not hate it. First of all, you know where you said like when you first put on the song and the opening played, you're like, oh, why did I hate this? I think the reason why there is kind of that switcheroo is because the opening feels like a much more typical Maroon 5 song. And then it kind of like changes, right?
It does, yeah.
It's like they're mixing again. I think this song, where they're kind of trying to mix up genres and like styles, does work better than Lady Killer and Fortune Teller for me. It's a 3.5. It's still weaker than a lot of the songs in the first half, but I didn't hate the song. I thought it was just, like a pretty good song.
We got 2 songs left. Track number 11, Doin' Dirt. We're back to the first part of the album because this is written by Adam Levine and Shellback and produced by Shellback. The song feels like it could have been a single or maybe even a Pink song. There's something about this that I feel like I want to hear it in Pink's voice.
Oh,
and it's got like a little bit of a rock edge to it in a weird way. I wrote that this song is honestly pretty good. This is a 3 for me. What do you think?
This song does feel like a more classic Maroon 5 song. Like, I agree. You can definitely tell that, the producers and songwriters from the first half were on this. I also wrote down that it almost feels like something from Barbie. I don't know why. It just, came to me. Ultimately, I wrote down it's a nice song. Nothing particularly special, but still pretty good song. It's a 3.5. I will say, the last part of the album was kind of consistent, just consistently almost as good, but not quite as good as the first half.
Track number 12, our last song, Beautiful Goodbye. Written by Adam Levine, Amar Malik, and Benny Blanco, and produced by Benny Blanco. This is a genuinely good song, and I think this is the best way to end the album. And I could see this song being kind of a folk hit in the vein of Jason Mraz. This is a 3.5 for me. I liked this one. I didn't expect this, and I didn't think that they had this kind of style in them. It doesn't feel like a Maroon 5 song, kind of. It's unique, but I liked it a lot. So this was the biggest surprise for me.
One of the notes that I wrote was that it feels more ballady, but even though I do like ballads, I feel like that's not why I really listen to Maroon 5. Which is ironic because, Sad is very ballady, and I did like that song. This song, I think it's just like the last 2 songs, pretty good. I do think that it works as an ending to the album, although I did kind of feel like I was missing a kind of bang at the end of the album to kind of be like, boom, this is the end of the album, a song like that. I still think it works. I just think that ultimately it doesn't match the first 5 songs on the album, and so because of that it's a 3.5. It's still solid. It still works.
Yeah, I think we end on a good note. These last 2 songs specifically for both of us.
Yeah.
Overall, this album, I feel like kind of has a similar listening experience to the Kesha album. There's a little bit of a sameness to it, but it does kind of vary in between the production styles and, the pop and the pop rock, as I said. I have an unpopular opinion. I think they took the correct career trajectory instead of trying to do pop rock again and just have done more pop after this album. They have a knack for it, and I think that's kind of what's going to ensure their success long term.
I agree, because I just think that they are very, very talented at, this particular style of pop. I think there's a reason why it just is so catchy. and works quite well. And yeah, it's not for everyone, but I think it's a style that will speak to just a lot of people. Even if it isn't like, oh, they're my favorite band or something, that's going to keep them in the mainstream for a long time.
I think that there are 2 albums in this album, which I kind of have said before. And I'm wondering if this is a common thing with Max Martin, because we had this on the Kesha album. We're having this now, and this doesn't exclude other producers, because I think Ryan Tedder contributes to that sound, that like fully realized, polished pop sound. I think that there's a stark difference between the quality, I guess, of the more pop leaning songs and the less pop leaning songs. And I wonder if that is a common occurrence in this era of albums, this era of music. And it kind of leaves me wanting more from the album as a whole, which ultimately leads me to my score of 2.5 out of 5. I think that some of the songs individually are a lot stronger than the album as a whole. I feel like I just can't go any higher than 2.5 on here. And then as I was writing that down, I was kind of thinking maybe SZA's album deserves a 2.5 as well, because I kind of feel the same way about these. But what did you think about the album?
I think individual parts of this album are much stronger than the album as a whole. I think the first 5 songs are quite strong. Even like the songs within those 5 songs that are a little bit weaker are still much stronger than the rest of the album. And that really brings the rest of it down as a cohesive experience. And because of that, I put it as a 3.5, and I can't go any higher than that, even though like the songs I really liked did get a much higher score than that. So I completely agree. I could even see this maybe slipping down to like a 3. This is like on the low end of the 3.5 for sure. But yeah, I think it is. I think the fact that the second half of the album is kind of the part that's not as good is also kind of takes away from the experience of listening to it as an album, because you get the good stuff up front, and then after the rest of it, you're kind of just like, well, okay.
I want to ask you, because you know some of these songs, and you've already said you're going to listen to the singles, the songs again. Are you going to be listening to any of the album cuts, I guess, again?
I will if I come back and listen to parts of the album. I think that's how I will re-listen to parts of this album. I feel like stuff like One More Night I will definitely listen to outside of the album. Same with like Payphone. I think it's also just partially like I obviously enjoy this type of pop, but I don't really return to it as much as I do with other styles, even other styles that are very similar. I think just other styles of pop, for instance, like Banks or Troye Sivan and stuff like that, those styles I return to more than I do with Maroon 5, even though I really enjoy their stuff. So because of that, I feel like I just won't come back to these as much, and I won't really listen to them outside of the album. But I feel like every once in a while, I will just come back and listen to parts of this album that I do like. A very interesting album, very kind of mixed.
Very, yeah. This is not my first time listening to a Maroon 5 album in full. I've listened to, I think, their 3 most recent in full. This album is very interesting because I feel like the other albums I've listened to are much more consistent on quality between the songs, whether I like that or not. They're going to sound more like cohesive, I guess. Yeah, I agree with you. This is a very weird album. I wasn't fully expecting it to be like this. But that leads us to our movie, which is kind of another quirky thing.
And I gotta say, before we get into it, the movie we watched is The Birdcage. This film is, in my opinion, one of the best comedies ever made. And it's a staple in my family. Like, we watch this at least once a year, maybe more. Like, that's how much we all love it. And it's like literally everyone in my family loves this film. It isn't like, oh, this is like my favorite and like my mom's or something. Like literally whenever one of us puts this on, everyone else will like join like halfway through at least and like just watch the rest of this. And that includes Jennifer now, who we've like brought into watching this film with us. So I was so very excited like to see what you thought of this film. So without further ado, let's get into it. Or I guess, you know what, let me add a little bit more ado. Had you heard of this film before?
I think this is the time where I bring up my little story. I thought I hadn't heard of this before. Turns out I have seen this. Within the first 1 minute of watching it, I was like, oh my God, I've seen this movie before. And then the more it went on, I was like, maybe I haven't. And then I realized I actually have. And my dad said, you've seen this before. We just watched it last year. And I was thinking to myself, I was not here last year. I was living in LA. That actually means like 7 years ago we watched this. And he just doesn't understand the concept of time very well.
As most parents don't.
Right. So, yes, I have seen this before. And I just didn't realize it. And I had even told you that I've never seen this before because for some reason,
I remember that.
The name, The Birdcage, just did not stick out to me for whatever reason.
Not to like spoil what you think of it, but did you remember anything from 7 years before?
I remembered a few things. I remembered the opening. I remembered a few scenes. I remembered looking at Robin Williams' mustache, and I completely forgot the entire end of this film. After the first 45 minutes to an hour, I didn't remember anything. So it was almost like a new experience, but I know I watched it because then at the absolute end, I was like, oh yeah, I do remember this.
Without further ado, let's get into it so we can hear your thoughts faster.
For real, no more ado this time.
Yes, no more ado, please. I guess I could say some don't. That doesn't make any sense. I don't care. So I'm going to start as usual with the IMDb logline, and I want to hear what you think. So here goes. A gay cabaret owner and his drag queen companion agree to put up a false straight front so that their son can introduce them to his fiance's right-wing conservative parents.
I think that's probably as close as you're going to be able to get because I don't think that Albert is in on it at all or wants to do this. Honestly, neither Albert or Armand want to do this. So,
well, that has kind of gone to like where people say that the true villain of the film is Val because he's kind of like, "Can you guys do this for me?"
Honestly, yeah, I agree with that.
Me too. But yeah, I think it's the best logline you could come up with this film without making it long, because like even like a gay cabaret owner. The show isn't really a cabaret, is it?
I mean, I guess technically, yeah, but like...
But it's also like, it's more of just like a nightclub.
Yeah, but there are performances.
I don't know. Anyway.
I don't know. We're getting hung up on technical details.
Semantics. All right. It is what it is. It's an interesting logline, let's say. Let's get to the credits. The film is directed and produced by Mike Nichols. It's written by Elaine May. We have talked about both of them, obviously. And it's based off of both La Cage aux Folles by Jean Perret. That's probably how you say his name. Sorry, Mr. Frenchman. Which is a farce, i.e. a play. And also the film La Cage aux Folles, which is based off the play. La Cage aux Folles, the film by Francis Weber, Edouard Molinaro, Marcelo Danon, and Jean Perret.
That was pretty good.
It went so good at first. Jean Perret. That's the best I can do. Sorry. Cinematography. Wow, I didn't fuck up on that word. By Emmanuel Lubezki. Edited by Arthur Schmidt. Music by Jonathan Tunick. And starring Robin Williams, Nathan Lane, Gene Hackman, Diane Wiest, Dan Futterman, Callista Flockhart, Christine Baranski, and of course, Hank Azaria. Obviously, we got to start with the French version, which is the play. The name, by the way, directly translates to The Cage of Birds, so i.e. the Birdcage. Again, it was a farce written by Jean Perret, that's probably how you say his name. Apologies again. And it follows the same general stories. There are some slightly different elements, but the basic story is the same. And it premiered in 1973 and was a big success, and eventually was translated into the film, which was directed by Edouard Molinaro, and that was released in 1978 and was a big critical and commercial hit. It spawned sequels. Like, this film was, known in France and definitely was not as well known in the US. I guess you could say people that knew a lot about comedies and comedians and like people that were involved in that sphere did know the film very well. And that includes Mike Nichols. And he actually first got involved in this when he was set to direct the 1983 Broadway adaptation of the play. Unfortunately, he was fired by producer Alan Carr, and so he never got the chance to to direct it. His chance to become involved with the film came when the original French film rights ended up at United Artists. And the head of United Artists at the time was John Cayley. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It might be John Calley, who was a lifelong friend of Nichols. And he asked him, hey, is there anything that you want? And Nichols said, you own a project that has the perfect, or not the perfect, but one of the greatest comedy structures ever. And that was the Birdcage. And so they got the rights, and Nichols right away called up Elaine May and asked her to write it, and she said yes. Now, we mentioned this in the Birdcage episode, but...
Not the Birdcage, Graduate.
Sorry, The Graduate, thank you. The Graduate episode, but I thought it was important to briefly mention it. Elaine May is, of course, a writer and a director, and she was Nichols' comedy partner during the 50s and 60s. And she agreed to, write it, and she came on with an interest in also directing it. And I believe that at this point, Nichols was kind of on board as a producer more. That being said, UA, which is short for United Artists, was not willing to let her direct it because the last film she directed, which was 1987's Ishtar, had bombed. And of course, this is Hollywood, and they're not going to give a woman a second chance. And so Maya eventually asked Nichols to direct it, pretty much to direct her script. They did a lot of research. They did research with production designer Bo Welch. That involved going to drag shows in Chicago and Savannah. And when they were visiting a drag show in South Beach, they actually decided to switch the location from New Orleans to South Beach because they thought that it fit so well. And Nichols actually hired filmmaker and PBS producer Rick McKay to make a documentary about drag queens that was then shown to Williams and Lane for research purposes, which I thought was really interesting. I'm actually interested in seeing if this documentary is out there or not. There were some changes in the script that were made to the original French version. That includes, obviously, the names. In the French film, they're called Georges and Albine, and that became Armand and Albert. And there was, of course, the change of turning the in-laws into a conservative moral senator and his wife, which Elaine May said was to address the anti-LGBT sentiment and the political right wing that was very present in the news at the time and has only gotten more present in the news.
Yikes.
Oh, yeah. But it seems like aside from that, the script is quite faithful to the French version, at least in terms of what happens. Now, when it came to casting, Nichols approached Robin Williams for the role of Albert, because originally he was going to play Albert and Steve Martin was going to play Armand.
Steve Martin?
Steve Martin.
Whoa.
Yeah, Steve Martin.
That's a totally different movie.
I was very surprised. And I think that Steve Martin himself kind of couldn't see it because he turned it down. He didn't believe that he could bring, the camp necessary for the character. Robin Williams, on the other hand, had grown really tired of playing, really over-the-top characters. And he didn't want to repeat kind of what he had done in Mrs. Doubtfire in terms of he's wearing drag. So because of that, he asked if he could play Armand instead. Nichols agreed, and then he approached Nathan Lane. Now, unfortunately, Nathan Lane was unavailable because he was set to appear in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum on Broadway. Nichols really wanted him, though, to the point that he went to convince the producer of that play, Scott Rudin, to postpone the entire thing to let Lane join the film. Now, when it came to the role of Agador, Nichols originally wanted British actor Adrian Lester, but they both agreed that having a black man play the servant role kind of would connotate racist undertones, which, they didn't want. So Nichols reworked the part and hired Azaria. Hank Azaria has spoken about developing Agador. He has said, quote, I worked up different versions. One was more understated, barely obviously gay, almost a street tough. And one was the character that ended up in the film. Both felt real to me. I'd grown up with Puerto Rican street queens who were very effeminate and flamboyant and others who weren't. I tried both versions out for a friend who was a drag queen, asked which one he liked better, and got his seal of approval," end quote. And after production ended, he said that he realized that he based Agador's voice on his grandmother, which I thought was fun. And my last point before we get to production is that when it came to Val and Barbara, their characters are supposed to be, as stated in the film, almost 19 and 20. In real life, Dan Furterman was actually 27 and Callista Flockhart was actually 30, which I feel like you can kind of see. But it's not bad enough where I feel like it takes me out at least. Filming took place mostly in LA, although they did do some additional filming in Miami Beach, which included the Art Deco district. The opening shot to this film was much more complicated than it seems because it was actually 3 shots stitched together, which was a helicopter shot to the street, then a crane shot on the street to the nightclub, then like a handheld shot going into the nightclub. It's kind of crazy that Emmanuel Lubezki was the cinematographer for this film, considering that in the 2000s, he became known as like one of the best working cinematographers ever and won 2 Academy Awards back to back. So every single time I see his name on this, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, he did this film. That's why it looks so good. Knowing that Williams and Lane were both obviously very good at improv, Nichols told them, "I'm going to let you improv as much as you want after we get one good take following the script." And he did. He would let them just do whatever the hell they wanted. And that resulted in actual unscripted moments making it into the film. One of those moments is when Robin Williams is giving Val the script to put on the front door, and he slips. That was not supposed to happen, and they just kept going. And at one point, you can even see Robin Williams like almost laugh. And that made it into the film, which is kind of like something that a lot of fans know about it and is a fun fact. And the improv and performances were so good during the toast scene that Nichols had to literally be covered with a blanket because he was laughing so hard during filming.
I think that approach to shooting comedy and especially shooting actors who are good at improv is probably the best one I've ever heard, because that is exactly what I would want to do, is get what is written, because obviously someone thought that was good, and then do your own thing and then see how we can improve it. And maybe you can, but we need that like baseline just in case it doesn't get better.
Exactly. Especially if it's Elaine May writing it, you know.
I'll kind of bring this up later too. I do think that Mike Nichols is, I mean, we've talked about him being underrated. I think he might be up there as like a director that I really like. I mean, based on seeing 2 films by him. So
absolutely. I completely agree. I mean, he is able to, I don't know, he just makes like, I don't know, there's something about his directing and the way he like makes the film just flow so well. I feel like that's present here and in The Graduate. And also, they're both funny, but in such different ways that it almost doesn't feel like they're directed by the same person, but they are. And I think that speaks to like his skill as a director. His range is crazy.
Since you said that, I kind of want to bring up the fact that when I was watching this, I was kind of thinking about The Graduate, knowing now that they were both directed by the same guy, and looking at the framing of a lot of the shots and the way that the camera moves, you can totally see how The Graduate is kind of like the earlier version of what would become, because it is so unique. The look and the feel and the composition of a lot of the shots feels very like similar between the two. Like they're like they could almost exist in the same world, and they're 30 whatever years apart. Like
it's crazy.
That's crazy. Like he really is a great director.
And I think that also speaks to what we talked about in the last episode about composition, because he is also a director that knows how to compose shots. And you can see it, like, you can see that in what you were talking about in this film, where you can see how that correlates directly back to The Graduate. You know, like he really was like testing things out, it feels like, with that film. And then by this point, he's like perfected it to where it just is seamless.
And I think the sets as well on both The Graduate and on The Birdcage are so unique, and there's so much to look at and to discover. And each thing that's inside of the world speaks to the characters in the story that's going on. Like it's so well thought out. That's got to be him.
Well, yeah. And I mean, in terms of the production design, like this is a comedy film where the environment is used for comedic effect. And I feel like it would have been so easy to add stuff for pure comedic effect that wouldn't fit the world, but it does. Nothing feels out of place. And I think that that's like a sign of how good he is as a director and the fact that he hired people that are so good that they can pull that off. Now, I did want to touch on two things before we got to the release, and that is United Artists did have reservations about the film's portrayals of conservatives. But as Kalia said, quote, Mike anticipated the concerns 8 or 9 months ago. He said, by the time the movie comes out, you won't be able to parody these guys anymore. They'll be parodying themselves, end quote. This was the 90s. This wasn't even the past 10 years. This was the 90s. The other thing that I did want to bring up is that Nathan Lane, who, like the character he plays, is gay, was not out at the time of the film's release. And he was actually very worried about being outed when he wasn't prepared, particularly during an interview that he did with Robin Williams on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Aside from the fact that, this is a film about gay characters, and I think it's important to discuss things like this relate to the film, I think it also shows you the type of person that Robin Williams is. Lane pretty much told Williams about his worry, and Williams said that, hey, if you don't want to come out, I'm going to do the best that I can to make sure that that doesn't happen. And if you see the interview on the Oprah Winfrey Show, at some points, Oprah asks some very leading questions that felt like they're trying to get Nathan Lane to say that, hey, yes, I'm gay. They were very, very leading questions. And every single time, Williams jumps in and steers the conversation away from that. As I said before, it's not only important to bring up because obviously that should never happen to someone, the way it happened to Nathan Lane, to where it was asked. But also I think it shows you just the type of person that Robin Williams is and why he was not only beloved by his fans, but also by, the people that knew him as a co-star and a friend. The film came out 1996, March 8th, and on a budget of $31 million, made $185.3 million. So it was a box office, smash. And it was also well received with critics, and it resonated with audiences. Obviously, we have to talk about the impact of this film, as it was a major turning point in media portrayal of LGBTQ people. A lot of earlier films that had similar themes and characters, films like, Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Neymar. That is one film. That's the title of one film, by the way. A film that I actually have been meaning to watch for a long time. But pretty much a lot of those films that were about similar themes and about, similar characters, even if they were critically acclaimed or anything like that, they weren't able to achieve the same level of box office success as The Birdcage. So The Birdcage was really the first film to achieve that. Furthermore, many of the films about LGBTQ people at the time were tragic stories that had to do with HIV and AIDS. As a lot of people have noted, this was one of the first films really that was a comedy that was starring two gay men and really finally kind of went beyond just telling tragic stories about struggles and, maybe let gay people go see someone that was also gay, or maybe not in real life, like Robin Williams, but kind of see a gay story that wasn't tragic or sad. Now, some people in the gay community did criticize the film for containing broad stereotypes of gay people, in particular, a depiction of an effeminate gay man. Nichols has stressed, however, that the film did not represent the community as a whole. He has said, quote, our jokes were about divas, about the theater, and about the stars, and some critics responded as if they were about gay people in general. That just isn't so, end quote. Sort of on the other spectrum of that, a lot of people have noted that, on the other hand, the film still resonates with audience because it is, at the end of the day, about family, and it depicts a loving long-term relationship between two men and shows two very different families kind of coming together at the end. And I think that maybe the best way to end my notes is with a quote from Nathan Lane himself. Quote, homophobia is still alive and well, but there's something about the film that touches people because it's ultimately about family. What you do for your family, why you love your family, even though they drive you crazy. Then ultimately, not to sound corny, it's about love. It's about love in both families and coming to accept one another and their differences, end quote. I do have some questions. Now, you kind of did answer one of these before, because my first question is, did you know what this film was about going into it? But that kind of leads to my next question of what do you expect going to a 90s comedy that is about gay characters? And what do you think about the way they are represented in the film?
I feel like I forgot enough about it the first time that I was able to approach it with, I mean, I didn't know I watched this until it started.
The first second you're like, oh.
It wasn't until they got like into the club, like the shot of the club with the song. And I was like,
yeah,
I don't know. So 90s, that's hard. Comedy, that's, you never know.
Yeah.
Dealing with gay people anytime before like 2015.
Yeah.
God, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, you have no idea.
I think they did a good job with this. As I was watching it, there was a part of me that was like, I can see how this could be taken as harmful of like, this is what all gay couples are like. I think for the time, I could see how that would be even more taken like that, because like you said, this is kind of one of the first times that gay people are portrayed in not they're going to die at the end kind of way, you know? They did a good job of handling the characters, and obviously Elaine May did a great job of writing the characters with love and respect for them as characters, but then also the way the characters interact with each other and their surroundings is a lot of thought was put into it. So I appreciated that a lot.
For me, the reason why it never felt like it was ridiculing, anyone in that community is because they do feel like people, which I feel like in a different comedy, they would not feel like people. They would feel more like a stereotype. But the fact that you have like, for instance, the scene where they're sitting on the bench and talking about their graves, and how he has to move his grave now. Like, I think like scenes like that really humanize the characters and make them seem realistic to the point where other things that, maybe do seem a little bit more cliche, like the way they fight, for instance, kind of becomes more of just who they are as people, which like it might still be problematic in some way, but I feel like because they are humanized, it makes them just feel like two people that just, are the way that they are in a way. Obviously, I am maybe not qualified to talk about this, but I think it is something that you kind of have to discuss when you are discussing this film. That being said, I did also want to ask you what you thought of this film as a comedy, because it is, after all, a comedy.
Yeah, it is very different from when you described it as a comedy. I was thinking it was going to be joke after joke. I was thinking it was going to be like Superbad more, which is our other, I'm going to have to unfortunately compare it to that because that is the other comedy that we've watched so far.
We even discussed there where like this is more of a situational comedy versus that which is more of the jokes. The comedy comes from the jokes.
And weirdly, both of them treat their characters in kind of the same way, with that same level of respect and love and care for everything that goes on in their lives or stories, whatever. If that story is probably a better word.
Yeah.
So as a comedy, it was very different from what I was expecting. And there were a few times where specifically the scene of them in the restaurant where Albert is like walking past the lady who's watching him. That was one moment where I felt like the comedy didn't translate as much for me, because I felt like that was a little bit veering more towards stereotypes. I don't know. It's hard because this is the 90s and like we've come such a long way and then from kind of like what the stereotypes were back then. But in the same way, at the same time, we also haven't, because there's still a lot of like the same stereotypes present about gay men. I think they did a good job though overall, because I did laugh a lot and I did like find myself enjoying it and not like worrying too much, But I will say, I think the funniest character is Agador. Talk about a stereotype, but I will say, I have met 3 different gay men in my life that are almost exactly like him. And I was just like, oh my God, I've met this guy before, like, so that was really nice.
Like that does speak to what Hank Azaria said, where, these were people that he literally knew growing up. And I think that does maybe speak to why the film does still work, because in a way, because they are more humanized, it feels like real people that you met, even if like it is kind of cliche, because like there are people that are maybe more cliched. I think the problem is that like presenting the community is only that. That's the issue, because obviously it's a wide spectrum, even if there are a few people that are like that. And I think maybe that's a reason why it maybe does work better here, because they are humanized, kind of past the cliche, if that makes sense. But I also agree that he is literally the funniest character, and he is the character that like my family quotes the most. And I also didn't mention this because I didn't have time to go look for this, but I remember seeing an interview with Hank Azaria where he said his dad came on set and literally told him, "This isn't you," when he saw like what he was doing, which props to him for like pushing back and like going on with it. I think it's obvious that I love this film. I think this is one of the best comedies ever made, as I said before. And I do think a large part of that is because of Elaine May's skill as a writer, along with like Nichols' skill as a director. And I think it's such a shame that she never got to direct again, and that she never got the opportunity to show what she could do because she was a woman, And I feel like that's something that's still around now. Like if a woman has a box office bomb, she's sent to prison, like to director prison. But if a man does, they still have kind of a shot. And I think it's such a shame after seeing like this film that she wrote and thinking, like trying to imagine what she might have done if she got the chance to direct another film. That being said, I also think that a large part of the success of this is the actors too. And I wanted to ask, who were the standouts to you, and what you thought in general? Because I know for me at least, Robin Williams, Nathan Lane, and Hank Azaria absolutely kill it in this film and are amazing. But I also adore the kind of more straight performances of Diane Wiest and Gene Hackman. I love their straight performances in this, especially when he's talking about foliage for like 10 minutes straight. Like it just works so well. So I wanted to know what you thought, and if there were like performances that stood out to you, especially ones that you maybe didn't think were going to.
Yeah, I mean, Gene Hackman as the senator was probably my favorite outside of the trio. There's just something so nice about a straight man in contrast with, and I don't mean that as straight like sexual orientation. I mean that in a comedy term. Let me clarify.
We're about to go down a very bad road there.
In comparison to the kind of more over the top comedic performances. That was something that I didn't remember and I really enjoyed. I did want to say, however, I don't remember the name of the actor who plays Val. That was the one performance I didn't really like that much.
I agree. I think Val is definitely the weakest part. I think he just gives kind of a passable performance. I think that I do like Callista Flockhart as Barbara. I think her performance isn't on the same level as the others, but I don't think it's like a bad performance. I think it was just like, she's a younger actress compared to the rest of the cast. Like she just maybe is more experienced. And I mean, Callista Flockhart has definitely like proved herself, with all the rest of her work. Interestingly enough, Dan Futterman is probably now more well known as a writer. He was nominated for Best Screenplay for writing Capote and several other scripts. So like he is more known as a writer now, and he has created TV shows and stuff like that. So
I did not know that.
Kind of a crazy turn of events there. Yeah, I had no idea until I was researching the film. I also wanted to say, in a film with Robin Williams, who like just casually steals the show and everything he's in, it's kind of crazy to me because I feel like in this film, Nathan Lane and Hank Azaria steal the show. Like obviously Robin Williams is still amazing in this film, but to me those are definitely the two performances where like I feel like they steal the scene wherever they're there, whenever they're present. And that includes in like the quieter scenes too.
I'm familiar with Nathan Lane from Modern Family. I am a TV person, obviously, and he showed up as a friend of Mitch and Cam's. I don't remember what his name is on the show. I think it's something weird. I just remember seeing him in that show and thinking, God, this guy needs to be in TV and movies more than just like Broadway. He's got such great comedic timing. Like it's just crazy. There's just some people that you just see and you're like you can make anything funny, and he's just one of those people to me.
He, I think, is one of the most gifted comedic actors ever. And in some ways, I do think it's sad that he isn't in film and TV more. That being said, he has like an illustrious Broadway career. And I mean like illustrious. Like he is one of the most well-respected and known Broadway actors like of all time. And that's both drama and comedy. So like while I do want him to be in film and TV more, at the same time I'm so happy he has this like profound success on Broadway. And he's in that, I think it's called Mid-Century, which I'm actually very interested in watching. My last question, which we kind of touched on, how does this compare to The Graduate? If it can, considering that they are quite different films. And I know we kind of talked about this before, but if you had not known that this was directed by Mike Nichols, would you have been able to tell?
I'm going to start with the Mike Nichols question, because considering that I had both seen The Graduate and The Birdcage before and not realized they were directed by the same director, no. If I'm paying attention to it, yes, I can tell, because I think he does have a style, but it's not like overbearing, and I think he adapts his style to the movies very well.
It's a type of style that lets the films speak for themselves.
Definitely.
It's not an auteur style, which I think fits the films he makes.
I wonder if that's kind of why people don't put him in the conversation of some of these other like big all-time directors who have very specific styles. And maybe it's because he's like much more able to kind of bend his style to what the story calls for, which I think is ultimately more of a skill.
I agree, honestly.
For the comparison to The Graduate, I unfortunately will have to make you a little sad. I did prefer The Graduate over this.
I mean, that doesn't make me sad because I think they're both great films. Maybe a little sad because I love this film, but yeah, I get it. I understand.
I can't really put my finger on why necessarily, but this film is a 3.5 for me. I think I gave The Graduate a 4.5. I do really like this and I want to watch it again. Obviously, I've already watched it once, so watching it, I kind of started to remember more about it. But like this is an enjoyable film. This is a good time. This is just entertainment. I don't know if I would put this in my list of the greatest comedies ever, but I do think that this is a really important film in the genre of comedy. I mean, we'll have to see as we watch more comedies where it ranks, because I know there's a lot of like bad comedies.
Oh yeah, we should watch some of those for sure.
Yes, exactly. But I did enjoy this, but ultimately I think there was something about The Graduate that spoke a little bit more to me, I think. And also, I will say, I like the end of this film a lot, and I think it's the perfect end for it. But that being said, it is a little Hollywood, and I don't know that it totally works for me all the time because of where we are now politically with American conservatism kind of versus gay people and the LGBT community as a whole. It feels a little bit like, not disingenuous, but I think you know what I mean. I think the audience will know what I mean. Ultimately, it is the correct choice, though.
I think that is the result of the fact that I think like the ending also works much better in the context of the times, in terms of like the fact that the hate wasn't so vitriolic at that point. Like it was definitely there, but there were less people, I feel like. Or maybe not less, but like it wasn't to such a high level in terms of like the hate wasn't so strong compared to what it is now in that vocal minority, of people that do feel that way. And I feel like because of that, the ending might feel maybe a little bit jarring. We kind of forget that maybe it didn't used to be like this, And I feel like even 10 years ago, it wasn't to such a high level, which is, I think, the first time I saw this film. And so that's why the first time watching it didn't feel like that, because it hadn't reached this level yet, even though it was definitely like starting to ramp up.
And I want to say something on that note, because as we talked about this film as having such a big impact on the portrayal of gay men in Hollywood, I think that Modern Family kind of did the same thing. And of course, Nathan Lane is in that as well. It's not one of the main characters, but he's in quite a few episodes. And I think that did such a great job of, I don't want to use the word normalizing because but I guess
it's normal, but
kind of making conservative Americans kind of understand that there are people who are different than them, who are not out to kill them and take their family. And also the point that I really wanted to make was both of them are comedies. And I think that comedy is such a great vehicle for telling meaningful stories, because when you get somebody laughing, they're much more willing to accept other things.
They're much more understanding.
Yes, exactly.
I do find this film also very touching, and I think that that's maybe a reason why, because I feel like you can see it in the film in terms of you can see how it would change a lot of people's perceptions in the 90s, you know? And I didn't say my score. It is a 5. I think everyone guessed that, because I did say it's, in my opinion, one of the best comedies ever made. So yeah, obviously it's a 5.
I thought so, yeah.
I'm at this point, I'm waiting to see when the next non-5-star film is going to be. Could be next week. I don't even remember what next week is going to be, but could be next week. We'll see.
Is that where we end? Should we just transition right into?
I think so. There's not much more we can say.
If you haven't seen this movie, definitely watch it. It is a great comedy, and I think more importantly than that, it is a pillar of how to tell stories with people who are different than you. And I think that is a great lesson to learn, especially if you're a creative.
I completely agree.
Like we are.
And guys, stop hating on Maroon 5 so much. They're just fun.
That's the message to take away more than anything else. Stop hating on Maroon 5.
Yeah, the other message not important. This is the real important one. Maroon 5.
I think the album has a 1.9 on Rate Your Music, I'm pretty sure.
That's too low.
I know.
No, but obviously the message Brandon gave is the important one. But also, they're just having fun. Maroon 5.
Take whatever you want from this.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say whatever, because some people might take that the wrong way. You are not allowed to hate on people.
That's true.
Fuck you.
Exactly.
That's the message I want you to take from this episode. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Anyway, on that note,
you can find us on Instagram, where we post what next week's episode is going to be every Sunday. Also, you can find a link tree both on Instagram and on the description of this video, where you can get a link to our TikTok where we post fun videos. You can get a link to literally every single place where we upload episodes, which, hey, you probably know where that is anyway because you're listening to this right now. Anyways, you can email us to, what's the email, Brandon?
upcpod@gmail.com.
That's right. And I did not say LinkedIn. I said Linktree. Thank you very much.
Correct. I was waiting for that.
Correct. And if you're interested to see what our wacky rating systems are and what we've been listening and watching recently, I forgot the 2 for both of those, you can also find our
Rate Your Music and Letterbox.
I forgot the name.
I'll take that from you real quick. And then I also wanted to say, as you said last week and reminded me, rate the show if you haven't. Leave us a comment. That helps a lot. And leave us a review on Apple Music /podcasts.
Leave us a review.
That helps more than you ever know. And thank you guys for listening. I don't know. We got some good stuff coming up for you. It's the fall time. This is the best time of the year.
For literally everything. So
yeah, had to give you some of the best episodes ever.
So stay tuned, guys.
We'll see you next week.